This is a great question that a few people asked on my most recent video on spiral galaxies. And the answer is 50-50. There's no preference for whether a spiral goes anti-clockwise or clockwise, because if you look at it from the other side, you're going to think it goes the other way. We only know that, though, thanks to the Galaxy Zoo project, which was a website that got the public to classify the shapes of galaxies and asked people, was it a spiral going clockwise or anti-clockwise, so they could actually test this. When they first ran through the data, there was actually a slight statistical preference for one way or the other. I can't remember exactly which direction, but there was a preference, let's say, for clockwise spirals. And they thought, well, that's weird because we know of no law of physics that could explain why you'd get a preference that spiral galaxies would go one way or the other. And so they thought, well, we better repeat our experiment, as good scientists do. And so they put all the images back onto the website and asked people to classify them again. But this time, they flipped the images. And when they asked people to classify them again and ran through the data, there was still this statistical preference for, which did I say, clockwise spirals, right? So they'd found the same result twice, even though they'd flipped the images and should have found clockwise the first time and anti-clockwise the second time. And so what they'd actually found in this first Galaxy Zoo run was actually like a psychological bias, like in what humans see when they look at sort of spirally shapes and which direction you think that it's going. When they'd accounted for that psychological difference and that psychological bias, there was no difference. It was 50-50. Half the time the spirals are going clockwise and half the time the spirals are going anti-clockwise. We're not in a special place in the universe, and the Copernican principle still holds, if you saw my video from a week ago.